Hello again. One of the things which I've noticed lately is that ordinary, everyday things which we all know about and have to do somehow assume enormous significance when black people have to do the same as the rest of us. In other words, just doing what everybody else does is apparently a really big deal for black people in Britain. Perhaps I should explain what I mean by this. Although few of us call it code switching, which is a technical name for what I'm about to talk about, we all know about it and we do it on a regular basis. We talk and dress differently at work than we do when hanging out with our family at the weekend or when visiting our elderly parents. Many of us will, for example, swear dreadfully when we're doing a DIY job at home and hit our finger with the hammer, but we would not dream of swearing in the presence of an old aunt or perhaps near the boss at work. Effectively, we use different languages for different settings. Our accents change, the things we talk about are different. We might speak, say, more quietly at work than we would at a barbecue at a friend's house and so on. In other words, we have different codes and styles of language for different settings. I, for example, tend to use formal language when making these videos, and I try to speak clearly. I curse freely at home in the presence of my wife, but this would be inappropriate when making a film like this, because some people might be playing this video and their children were in earshot, so they're not going to want to hear me effing and blinding all over the place, so I use different language. I greet people here on these videos by saying hello again, but if I see the bloke down the street who is the same age as me and comes from the same district I grew up in as a child, I'll usually just say watcher. Fine old Shakespearean greeting, by the way, a corruption of watch cheer. But yes, I'll say watcher, Paul, like that, or hiya. But I wouldn't speak like that, for example, if I met my son-in-law's family. I would use a different form of greeting for them, a different language, a different code, if you like. I believe that every single person watching this will know exactly what I'm talking about, and most of you are probably saying to yourselves, yes, so what? It's what everybody does. It's nothing special. That is precisely right. We may not call it code switching, but we all know about that behaviour, that we have different patterns of speech, styles of dressing, that even the topics we talk about will vary from setting to setting. We all have different personalities which we put on according to circumstance. In the description to this video, I give a link to a news item from the BBC about a report from the Runnymede Trust, a British charity which makes a good living out of encouraging racial divisions in this country and causing friction between various ethnic groups. Allow me to quote from the article about their latest report, which is called Broken Ladders. The headline is, I change how I look and talk to fit in at work. A 24-year-old Ghanaian woman, who may be seen in the thumbnail to this video, explains the difficulties which she has as a black person in Britain. I do notice that I'm not being myself in the workplace. I do speak to my family and my friends completely differently to how I speak in the workplace. This is, of course, just what I was talking about. This is an experience common to every person in Britain and in every other industrialised country where people go off to a workplace. We speak differently at work than we do with our family. The article says of this new report by the Runnymede Trust that 61% of women of colour said that they had changed their language, topics they discuss, hair, food they eat, or even their name by a great deal or quite a bit to fit in at work. Yes, that's right, I do not doubt it for a moment. I know a white woman whose name is Rebecca at work, but she's known to her friends as Bex. Her family have a pet name for her which dates back to childhood. Changing the food that you eat at work? Well, I've been known to eat baked beans cold from a tin at home, but I would hesitate to do that, say, when visiting my publisher. The topics I discuss with my friends are always different from the kind of stuff that I've talked about at work. In other words, this young African woman's life experiences are exactly the same as all the rest of us, white folk included. We all engage in code switching and altering our personalities to fit in at work. If we are stopped by the police while driving, we will not perhaps use the same tone of voice we would use to our mate down the pub or when talking to our 5-year-old nephew. I'm sorry to hammer this point home so hard, but it typifies something which I see time and again where black people in this country are concerned. They encounter exactly the same situations which all of us have to put up with and get used to, but they feel aggrieved about those things and attribute them to racism. This is very annoying. 99 times out of 100 it's nothing to do with racism at all, but simply how our society works. Immigrants feel that the day-to-day minor irritations of life in a civilised society are an intolerable burden, and one which they alone are being expected to shoulder. They are not. These things are just what life in Britain is like. They're not another aspect of institutional racism.